Hi everyone, it's me, Jordan Long, and today I'm gonna talk about, folks that want to make you feel ashamed for being in the wrestling bit. Well, not for being in the wrestling business, but I meant for being a wrestling follower. These can be folks from other sports. These can be folks who are from the same followership, or these can be folks that I don't know. Now, there are always going to be those who don't like wrestling, who are ashamed of it, or want to make you feel ashamed for being a wrestling follower when either, oh, it's written, it's booked. The wrestlers went to learn how to wrestle and fight. Oh, that's not true wrestling. That's not true fighting. Things like that you already know, but then they like to go around and tell you like you don't know it, like it was some kind, like someone like you don't already know it. Now, keep in mind that not everyone who likes football or fighting or anything like that is like that. Some are. Ow. You know what, Jordan? You really shouldn't be a wrestling follower. Why? You're in the wrestling business now, Ronda Rousey. Yeah, I am. And man, I'm ashamed of that. How could you be ashamed of being in the wrestling business? Because it's fake fighting. Yes, I know that it's show playing, that the wrestlers went to learn how to wrestle. I'm sure, Ronda, you knew what you were getting into when you went from UFC to WWE. Yeah, well, you shouldn't be a follower of it. You know, all this is show playing, and being a follower of it makes you dumb. Well, if that's your belief then, Rhonda, you're not the first one who's ever come out to tell folks that wrestling was written or booked or it was show playing, it's not true fighting. But then again, Rhonda, you were ashamed of being in the fighting business when you were in UFC. Now you're ashamed to be in the wrestling business when you were in the WWE. It's like you can't win. Yeah. Now, I don't know anything about Ronda Rousey myself, but what I've read and what folks told me, which not much, but it seems to be that Ronda seemed to be ashamed of first being in the UFC and being a fighter. I don't know why. Whatever. I don't know why. But she was in UFC and then she was ashamed of being in UFC and ashamed of being in a fighting business and said a lot of scathing things about UFC and fighting business before she left. And then she went to WWE, and then she was ashamed of being in WWE and being in the fighting business, and said a lot of scathing things about WWE and the fighting business. But everyone by now knows that wrestling is written, wrestling is booked. The wrestlers went to learn how to wrestle. Yes, it's show playing. It's nothing that no wrestling fan doesn't know. You know, but then again, it was probably her way of getting herself over as a heel, you know, at that time. But I don't know. All I know is that there are folks out there that seek to make you ashamed of being in the wrestling business. You know what? I think I could do more greater than that. I think I could go for Drew McIntyre. I think I could fight Randy Orton for the TWF heavyweight winnings, or Roman Reigns for the world heavyweight winnings. But hey, that's all we're talking about. But you truly should not be a follower of the wrestling business because it's show playing, it's written, it's booked. I like wrestling, and I know it's written and booked, and I know it's show playing. And wrestlers went to learn how to wrestle, but the harm they get, you know, the harm that befalls them, as true as any other kind, Oh, maybe it's true that they're not going, need be it's true they're not going to some kind of sale somewhere and putting fists to layers and making folks, and then doing a bunch of squeeze holes to make someone give up. That's true. They're not jamming knees to layers and hands to layers, you know. And it's true. But at the end of the day, it's a hard business to be in. It ain't smooth, even if they went to learn how to wrestle. Even if the fights were written and booked. It's still a hard business to be in. And if it was such a smooth business to be in, Rhonda, why did you take a year and a half off after WrestleMania then? Well, because I had time to start again. Well, you would have, yeah, well, that may have been your grounds. But I think maybe somewhere, I think the truth is that the wrestling business was too hard for you. And that being in UFC was too hard for you. And being in WWE was too hard for you. So at the end of the day, I guess being a wrestler and a fighter was just too hard for you. But you talk about how bad one is more than the other. And I'm not going to take away how tough you are as a fighter and as a wrestler. We know you're tough in both. But, you know, just cut the shit. Yeah. And there's always going to be someone out there who seeks to make you ashamed of being a wrestling follower. If it be a wrestler themselves, a fighter, someone who's a football follower, a fighter's follower, or, you know, whatever. Some NFL followers and some UFC followers, which are right underneath each other, will seek to make you be ashamed of being a wrestling follower. Some wrestlers and fighters themselves will seek to make you ashamed of being a wrestling follower, and some followers of the NFL and UFC and whatever will do it too. But at the end of the day, I'm happy to be a wrestling follower. I can't speak for everyone, but I can at least speak for myself. I'm Jordan Long, and I hope you like this film.